This is Andy right here. I realized watching you that you and I probably bench press the same amount. Maybe not. That's Pete right there. You got Joe right there. And Patrick right there. First thing I want to brag about the band, their show in Houston, which I believe is November 7th, all the proceeds from the show in Houston, you may not know, they are giving to help the hurricane survivors in Houston. I think that's awesome. Number 2, you guys have so many goddamn great songs. Wow. That was a hit parade. It was like one after another. It was so good. Pete, I want to go to you on this question. This is a very small, intimate venue. Do you remember the first show you did where people were there that paid to go other than your family and friends?
I remember, this is not the first one, but I remember we played in San Antonio, Texas, and one person came to the show.
That's not true. She brought her dad.
It's like, one is almost worse than 0. Because, like, you can't, like, just like, oh, I'm going to fuck around. We'll play different instruments. They're like, this one person wants to see the show, you know, like.
And was there a band very early on that either you gravitated to because you saw them live, or they maybe saw you when not many people knew who you were, and it just kind of clicked, something was like, oh my God, I think we can do this?
I think that the guys from both Punchline and Less Than Jake both took us out pretty often early on when we had no business really playing in front of anyone's audience. It was always like kind of with our shows at that period, it was like, are they gonna make it through the set, which is like 4 songs, you know, long, and it's like a total, each song's like a minute, and when we played by ourselves, it's like, what time will the fire marshal come, and when will he shut the show down? So that was the vibe.
Patrick, the last band in here was Portugal the Man, and they said on this stage that they were working on their latest record, and then they felt that they were way too relaxed. And they just stopped everything. And then one of the first songs they wrote when they got back to it was Feel It Still. And that's been like #1 for 8 of the last 9 weeks or something. And I read your post on why the album Mania got pushed back, but can you just expand on, I know it wasn't complete craziness, but why did you guys push it back? What's going on?
Well, like, I don't know, there's a business part to it where you have a deadline and you have these dates and they're supposed to, you know, ship on this date and, you know, it's supposed to go to this place on this date. And at the end of the day, like, we were actually, last week we wrote one of my favorite songs that we've maybe ever written, and I was really frustrated because I knew that kind of stuff was gonna happen. And we're gonna wait, we're gonna not let those things happen because we have a date to meet. You know what I mean? It was just one of those things, like, I knew we were building to something, and it's like, why do we have to rely on, you know, a schedule? You know,
right.
It's you know, it is a business, but it's supposed to be art, and you're supposed to enjoy what you're doing. And like, if you're really in the middle of it, it's like, this can wait. We have to do this thing real quick, you know.
And do you find, and I have no idea because everyone is different though, as you mature as a human, as a band, you're like, you critique yourself more harder than you do now than you did before?
No, if anything, no, because when you're a kid, you're like, wow, I'm horrible, and everything I do is terrible. And there's a part of you that'll always be there, but there's this part intellectually where I had to sing the national anthem at the World Series, the Cubs game. And it was awesome. That was amazing. It was the coolest thing ever. But I as I'm walking up to it, this little voice in the back of my head was like, well, someone thinks you can sing, I guess, so just do your thing. And the whole time I'm like, I have no idea how this is gonna go. And that's, I feel like, now as an adult, that's kind of this freedom and this like strength that you have in just being like, I don't know, we'll see how this goes, you know?
The connection you guys have had with your fans from the beginning is incredible. Every band strives for that, and then the new generation, yes, the fans here, because of the great songs and the performances, a younger generation has gravitated towards you, and there's so many fans here. What is your name?
My name is Tessa DeLee.
Take it away.
Hi. You mentioned shared neurosis being a big topic of the album. I was wondering what other topics influenced the lyrics and the meaning behind the album. Thank you.
I think that's probably the biggest one. By the way, nice hair. I like your hair. But to me, you know, like we're friends with bands like, you know, Rise Against, and I think a band like that's super important right now, you know? But I think it's the personal is really, really, really important. I think when you see mean people who are not empathetic, who are not compassionate, that plays out in their political lives as well, and what they're thinking in the larger world. And so, to me, I think it's super important to have a dialogue with people about being empathetic and being compassionate and understanding that everybody's on a similar journey around this like silly globe, you know, and we're all trying to figure it out and have some understanding for people. And I think that there's no way that hasn't influenced the lyrics. The next song we're putting out is kind of like this, like closest thing to a love song I would say that we've had, but it's pretty fucking twisted still though. So
It still fall away.
For Patrick or Pete, when the band is growing and it still continues to grow, how do you walk that fine line of, man, we want to do something completely bizarre in the studio, but also maybe staying true to what got you to this position?
There's a funny line where you as an artist, you're going to a studio and you go like, oh, we're gonna do something really weird. It's gonna be the weirdest thing. And then you play it for your friends and they're like, oh, it sounds like you. You know, and I think there's this thing that you can't escape yourself. So it's kind of, you know, sometimes it's almost, again, another kind of freedom to just like trust that no matter how hard you try, you can't not be yourself, you know? So.
Even like, I feel like with like Uma Thurman, we're like, let's write a pop song. And then we played it for people and they're like, this song is insane.
It's a very weird song, yeah.
I think that it's important, like, you know, like when I look back at like Bowie or The Clash or something, I think, you know, I wasn't in that generation, but I think at the time it's probably weird because you put everything you can as a fan into an artist and then they go and you're like, well, I fucking love it. And then you're like, and then you go and fucking change, you know? And, but if you didn't have all those different eras, like I don't know if I could love The Clash now at the age that I'm at. I like appreciate that and appreciate all the different moments. And I'd like to think that with Fall Out Boy, for like every Sugar We're Going Down, we're also gonna do like a Pac-Sam Days. Like we balance it out and do like some like, always do some weird stuff and some semi-cool stuff, I guess.
All right, what is your name?
Jess?
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was going to say, and it's one of those things, too. I think they're only weird in retrospect, too, because I don't think we realize we're doing it. We're just like, oh, we're going to do this thing. And then someone's like, why did you put out Pac-Sam Days? And you're like, it sounded fun. I don't know.
Jess, okay, the mic is yours. Everyone's watching.
Thanks. So where is the weirdest place you guys have been recognized by a fan?
Oh, this is so sad. So I never listen to my stuff. I never listen to stuff that I worked on like after it's done because it's kind of, you know, it's just kind of a weird, it just doesn't come up all that much, you know? And we're on this really long flight and whatever, I've never been recognized on a plane, I don't think ever. And you know how on your phone sometimes if you don't have, well, if you're off the thing, it defaults to just like the name of the thing in big bold letters. It doesn't have a cover, you know. And
I'm gonna try to translate this because there's a lot of like the thing and the
thing. Anyway, so I'm sitting there listening to our records, you know, just kind of comparing. This is the first time I've done this like maybe ever, really sitting down listening to our records, and I've got it sitting on the seat here, and the flight attendant walks by and he goes, "Is that cool to listen to yourself?" And I'm like, "Oh man, like one time."
The winner of Best Question of the Day.
I really didn't. That's the thing that's so sad. Is like, of course, if it were, you know, by myself, it'd be fine. But I had to do it on a plane like a schmuck.
And if really that was the only time, right?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
And now I'm terrified. I'm never listening to it again.
All right, you are Oliver?
Yep.
Go for it, Oliver.
Well, first things first, thank you so much for the tickets. I appreciate it so much. So I love you guys, first things first. How does it feel to know that you have affected just so many people? And like, how does that feel on the inside?
That's a good question. That's amazing. Thank you.
Good job, buddy.
I think it feels great, but I think it's like a big responsibility, and that's what we really like. You know, we talked about pushing the record back, and it's like we talk about it in terms of, you know, songs or whatever. But at the end of the day, like we realized that we could like not put out a record, or we could put out like kind of like a mediocre record, and we'd probably be fine and be able to, you know, play shows. But like the truth is to like go out and see all these people that are inspired. You know, I don't want to put out a fucking mediocre record. You know, like I want to put out a good record, and maybe it'll take 2 months longer or 3 months longer. But I don't want to go fly to Japan and be like, yeah, the record's like okay, but we're here. You know, because it means a lot. I mean, it's at this point we could probably just sit around on our couches. And you have a great shirt on. I like it a lot.
Yes, that's awesome.
Joe, watching you this close and hearing you sing and hearing your vocals come through and watch you do your thing, that was awesome to see, man. So good.
Thank you.
100% not underrated, but maybe underappreciated. You're awesome. Fantastic.
Thank you.
I'm curious, the first time you heard your band on the radio, do you remember that circumstance? Tell me.
I actually do. Is this thing on? Hello? Oh, there we go. Hey. I was moving, helping my friend move out of his apartment, and I was moving into his apartment in a U-Haul. And that was it. I turned on the radio, and I heard Sugar We're Going Down. And I was like, oh, that's weird. That was it, yeah.
And were you critical of the song? Were you like, we wrote a hit right
really
here.
Concerned about doing 2 moves in one day. So I think I was very tired. Yeah. But no, I mean it was strange and surreal. I don't think I got to fully appreciate it until later.
Got it. All right, well on that note, I think we should just end it there. You guys good? You guys have a good time? There is a Forum show in November. The new album, Mania, comes out in January. What an incredible career that you guys continue to have with these songs and their performances, and so much love for you guys. They are Fall Out Boy, everybody. Thank you for being here.